What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tooned Up on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mike. Joining me, as always, is Cameron, and we will take you around the world of animation. Today, we have a very, very packed schedule. We have a lot of news, a little bit of breakdown from Comic-Con at home, plus reviews of two new animated series, Cleopatra in Space on Peacock, and Tig N Seek on HBO Max. But first, Cameron, give us a little rundown.
All right. On the news front, our ongoing war with the sponge has updates. So, the spin-off series Camp Coral will be a CBS All Access exclusive next year. And good news for Canada moviegoers, Sponge on the Run will be released on August 14th in theaters. Bad news for the rest of us, we have to wait until next year for an on-demand release.
So you, Canada.
As if we don't already have enough jokes to make about you. No, man, this whole movie's release is a disaster. I'm so tired of talking about it because it always seems like there's now less and less of an excuse for it to be pushed to next year when everyone else is going to be getting it.
Yeah, the fact that Canada is getting it before us, it really just baffles me to no end.
Yeah, no, it's just, man, just release it next week. We want to talk about it. We love how it looks. The preview clips that we saw online looked amazing. Just let us have it. It's an animated movie. There's really nothing else coming out in between Connected, Soul, and Wolfwalkers, but those come out in October and November. But we'll see about Connected and Soul. So it really has no other competition. We know we're not going to get like Black Widow, Mulan, and whatever. That's fine. We know why we aren't getting those on demand. But Sponge on the Run is going to make its money back. It's SpongeBob. Just release it. Anyway, that's all the updates we have there. Now, Mike, you wanted to talk about this Forbes article by Mark Hughes, who talked about HBO Max should build a new animated DCEU quote-unquote Snyderverse. I'll let you take over on this one.
Yeah, let me just pull up the article really quick. But basically, Mark Hughes is describing, given the current climate of the world right now, he's suggesting an idea to continue Zack Snyder's vision in another medium. Should Zack Snyder wish to, continue telling stories in this universe, why not go animated? Animation is proven to be a success for DC properties. So why not take these characters and tell like new stories in the medium that serves them the best?
I think that's kind of an interesting idea because first off, I'm over the hate with Snyder. I don't care a lot for his films or his style, but the whole thing's played out. But I do think Zack Snyder's a very good visual director. I mean, say what you will about like Man of Steel or Batman v Superman and whatnot. He has a style. There's a reason why so many people loved 300 and loved how it looked. And yeah, why not take full advantage of animation with that? We've seen Spider-Verse prove that you can take abstract and like visually stunning comic book style imagery. So I think it's a good idea. I mean, why not? They're already funding the Snyder Cut. Why not see if he wants to make a miniseries,
Yeah, agreed. So one of the quotes from the article, he's talking about the Snyder Cut and why maybe going animation is a better route. Mm-hmm. He says, okay, so if there are no plans or chances any time in the near future to develop live action content, apart from existing feature films like Wonder Woman 84, Aquaman 2, and others that continue spin-offs from DC films, I believe the best option to pursue a Snyderverse is through animated miniseries. Ongoing weekly series are, of course, possible, but the demands of weekly or regular seasonal production would result in different types of content. A regular series must meet the demands of weekly or binge equivalent half-hour storytelling instead of centering around one adventure told from start to finish. Which I think isn't a bad idea. To tell mini series with a complete story, kind of like what we see other properties doing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Really, I have no quarrels with this. So I think that's a good idea. I'd say bring in more stylistic superhero cartoons. What's the worst that can happen? So next up, Netflix is getting a new anime series based off of the Splinter Cell series of games and books, with the writer of John Wick, Derek Kolstad, at the helm. Not much else is known about this news announcement, but why not? Netflix has that great Castlevania series, and some of their other quote-unquote anime series like Seis Manos are very popular and a lot of fun to watch. Plus, it would be kind of cool to see a spy espionage kind of animated show,
Yeah, I'll admit I don't know much about the Tom Clancy Splinter Cell books or games, but I'm imagining the kind of neon green aesthetic in anime form, and just the thought of that seems really cool to me.
It kind of makes me think about the Animatrix a lot. Not the photorealistic CGI short that was in it, but like the some of the other shorts that got really stylish with the visuals and such. I'd say why not get a good creative team behind it, see what happens. So, The Observer has chronicled the last 60 days of conversations around television series and have put together the top 10 that have been talked about. Number 10, The Walking Dead. 9, Steven Universe. 8, WWE Raw. 7, The Flash. 6, Rick and Morty. 5, Avatar: The Last Airbender. 4, Stranger Things. 3, Game of Thrones. 2, My Hero Academia. And 1, SpongeBob. The sponge just keeps coming back. I think that's pretty interesting. Out of all the show, I guess to me, even though anime is more popular than ever, it's finally kind of starting to break through into big viewer numbers. And you really can't get any more mainstream and easy to get into with anime than My Hero Academia. You get a shonen anime that's all about superheroes and supervillains. And unlike a lot of shonen anime, it's really good. I love it. I can't wait for the new season to come out, which will probably be next year or something. And it had a huge smash hit film recently with Heroes Rising that came out back in February and March. And Funimation just announced that 2 of the OVA episodes, which are not connected to the main story, but we'll have to see, will be coming to the service. Have you seen My Hero Academia?
Admittedly, I haven't, but seeing it's number 2 on this list kind of makes me think now is probably the best time to get on the train.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a really good series, and unlike a lot of anime Naruto and such, it really hasn't overstayed its welcome. It seems like it's aiming towards a conclusion and such. Now they may pull the trick of let's do a 2-year time skip. That's what Naruto did. That's what One Piece did. But I think that's pretty cool. It's a very focused anime, shonen long-going anime. And yeah, it's on Funimation, and it has 2 movies you can watch also. So, it'll be a good time in between this and the upcoming 5th season. So, up next on Netflix's docket, we have a new animated series called Captain Fall, which is coming from the creators of Norsemen, John Ivar Helgaker and Jonas Torgernsen. I hope I said those names correctly.
Yeah, you got close.
Yeah. So it's about a captain called Jonathan Fall, a naive, warm-hearted ship's captain who unwittingly finds himself at the helm of a smuggling ship. Not much is here, but really it's ordered 20 episodes into 2 separate parts. You know, like Netflix is pretty okay with their animation game. I think HBO Max has blown them out of the water a little, just in terms of like adult animation. But you know, you really can't like not bet on Netflix because you know they put out BoJack Horseman and Big Mouth and such.
Yeah, it's cool to see Netflix sort of capitalizing on animation, especially adult animation, because you need something to replace BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, and speaking of BoJack and adult animation, the 72nd Emmy Awards for primetime TV and such has announced its nominees. And these, for Outstanding Animated Program, we have Big Mouth for the episode Disclosure, the Movie, the Musical, Bob's Burgers, Pig Trouble and Little Tina, BoJack Horseman, The View from Halfway Down, Rick and Morty, the Vat of Acid episode, The Simpsons, Thanksgiving of Horror. For Outstanding Short Form Animated Program, we have Forky Asks a Question of What is Love, Robot Chickens, Santa's Dead, spoiler alert, Holiday Murder Things special. That's a mouthful. Steven Universe Future, Fragments. And then the rest are for like special effects. But really, I just wanted to focus on that news for the animation side of things. And, you know, not bad. I guess Close Enough came out too late.
Yeah, I didn't think that'd be eligible for this year.
Yeah, but some other voiceover performances have like Maya Rudolph from Big Mouth as Connie the Hormone Monstrous, who she's really good. I know Maya Rudolph is kind of like everywhere right now, but there's a reason why. She's super talented and funny. Central Park's Leslie Odom Jr. as Owen.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's it for the Emmy announcements. Now, we're not done with big names and interesting IPs getting turned into animated series. Because we have the man himself, Kevin Smith.
Whose birthday it is today.
Happy birthday, Kevin Smith. Woo! We'll be working with Wildbrain on a Green Hornet animated series. First off, I think that's an interesting property to adapt because, I mean, didn't they like a decade ago try with a reboot of Green Hornet with Seth Rogen and it didn't really work out?
Yeah, I remember the buzz being not so hot on that.
I remember seeing it and I remember enjoying parts of it. I think it could have been better, but it's just like it's interesting because Green Hornet's like a very old school superhero, like in the same vein as like the Phantom, the Spirit. But I mean, you know, Kevin Smith is a talented dude, so and I say why not?
Yeah, if there's anyone I trust to get behind a Green Hornet reboot, it would be Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I think he would be very good about that. But onto some slightly sad news, and it's not a death, but it is about the anime industry. The Anime News Network posted an article about really what's like, I'm trying to word this properly because as much as I love the anime industry, there's a lot of problems with it. And it's usually a pay thing, work hours, and depending on where you work, not great working conditions. But there apparently a reason behind some of the low paying jobs for anime is poor accounting. And I'm not surprised by that because anime, for some reason, is built on make as high quality of a product, as low of a budget as possible, making as many creative and hopefully good cuts and limitation and getting around severe limitations as possible. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that poor financing and accounting is, the downfall of any like reason why employees are getting lower wages than they should. I mean, it's already like you already hear the nightmare stories of working in animation and such, and all we can hope for is that it gets better, because not all of the anime studios out there are bad working places. Like if you go to Kyoto Animation, apparently they give you a pretty good wage and pretty good working hours. So, yeah. Any thoughts?
It it always just kind of bums me out, like to hear like stories like that about the anime industry. Getting into anime is hard enough without knowing how the sausage gets made.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
I get that, they're like the work ethic over there is it's
different from ours.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, like, I'm not going to say let's shame an entire country for questionable working ethics. I mean, come on, we would be the kettle calling the pot black, or
exactly
that, because we could fix a few things here also. But there are definitely like nightmare stories you hear about. Like there was a really bad anime from 2018, if I remember correctly, and apparently there were stories of the people working on it were like sending out like little cries of help in the credits. And if you look at the anime in question, it's pretty obvious to see that one did not go through a happy production. So, yeah, hope things get better. But we can now end on something positive before we get to the Comic-Con stuff. This week, Pixar has revealed a new original animated movie called Luca, which will take us to the Italian Riviera. It will be directed by Academy Award nominee Enrico Casarosa, who did the Pixar short La Luna. And the story description is, set in a beautiful seaside town of the Italian Riviera, the original animated feature is a coming-of-age story about one young boy experiencing an unforgettable summer filled with gelato, pasta, and endless scooter rides. Luca shares these adventures with his newfound best friend, but all the fun is threatened by a deeply held secret. He is a sea monster from another world just below the water's surface.
This is something that I love about Pixar, is that they take a pretty grounded like setup,
yeah,
and then it devolves into something extraordinary.
Yeah, fictional. And I mean, there's a lot to talk about this one, because some people are kind of like, there is a little bit of a debate, because it is just like, because the most recent Pixar film that was released was Onward, which was about two boys, and some people are bringing up the debate of like, how much longer are they going to keep doing this until they do another female lead driven character, or just characters that are not just guys, like LBGT plus, and just, other kinds of characters. And even though there's some theories going around that the sea monster aspect might have some LGBT plus elements to it, but there's not much else. It's just a really cool piece of concept art and a title. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, like, it's interesting because Disney has a weird relationship with having varied leads, but they'll be more adventurous with shorts and TV shows. But with their films, they come up with some pretty weak excuses.
My favorite of these is, these characters don't test well in countries like China or like the Middle East, and like, I get cultural differences, but at the same time, eventually those excuses just aren't going to cut anymore.
No, absolutely not. And it's weird because one of their best Pixar Spark shorts was the recently released Out, which found a creative way to talk about coming out as gay. And then there was the I mean, it's weird because they're so like nonchalant about it with their TV shows, and yet they come up with excuses, and yeah, it's getting a little tiring. But I'm still excited for it. It's Pixar. You can't really bet against them. It's probably going to be pretty good.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this now leads us to an updated release schedule for their animation.
I was about to ask what else is on the slate.
So we have the Raya and the Last Dragon for March 12th of next year. Bob's Burgers, a movie, for April 9th. We'll see if that goes to theaters. And not just because of COVID, but it's just, we haven't seen jack all about it.
Right.
Ron's Gone Wrong for April 23rd. Luca will be released June 18th on the 21st. And we forgot to talk about this, but Disney's working on a new animated feature with Brian Howard and Jared Bush called Encanto, which will take place in Colombia, and the music is getting some help by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And this
that's a winning team right there, honestly.
Yeah. No, and we'll see if that's the title for now, but yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good team, and original movies, they're kind of done with sequels for right now, or at least we hope so. There's a lot to criticize about Disney and how they handle animation, and Pixar as well. And I think their studios, and apparently from reports, their working conditions are getting better, especially just making things less toxic and whatnot, and more varied and opening and inclusive. Unfortunately, a lot of those changes are probably going to come 2 or so years down the line. Like, I don't like saying that, but it's animation. It's not made in a day.
Right.
But, if it leads to more interesting stories and characters, hey, I'm willing to wait. Okay, let's dive into some mildly disappointing Comic-Con stuff. Sorry, it's San Diego Comic-Con has been officially titled a disappointment due to low viewer numbers on most of the videos that they streamed on their YouTube and website.
And I'll be honest, I think one of the reasons why the numbers were so low is because none of them were live, so there wasn't really much buzz surrounding any of these. And also, there's a world of difference between seeing a panel like with a large audience and watching your favorite creators on a Zoom call.
Yeah, that was a major problem. And especially when the major players are not at Comic-Con, that's not going to bring in everyone, because you need that Disney, you need that DC and Marvel. And since everything has been pushed back, yeah, it's kind of hard to be like, what are we going to talk about? Because we were probably going to make some kind of announcement or show off some footage of like the next new Marvel movie. But since Black Widow hasn't come out, we can't. And it's not like I didn't find anything interesting about it. But yeah, it's like, say what you will about going to a Comic-Con or a convention of any kind and just having to wade through all the people who do not shower or bathe or are wearing super detailed and elaborate costumes and dealing with like maybe getting in or seeing a sneak peek of something. There's that feeling of being there, being around your friends and other fans. You need that live element, and that was not here, and really there just wasn't too much that was actually interesting. But for the stuff I watched the State of the Industry animation recap, which had a bunch of people like Jorge Gutierrez, who is the guy who made El Tigre, directed the Book of Life, and has a new series coming to Netflix, and other big animation people who worked on like Central Park, Paradise PD. And it was just kind of interesting to hear them talk about the industry in general and just how they got into it. And a lot of these topics felt like job fair kind of discussions. Like, what do you want to do? Like, any advice? What do you not want to do? And such. Like, and this is a trouble that we have with animation fans in general. If you're going to try to get a job in animation, do not badmouth or, dump on TV shows that are currently being made or are airing, because those people can see those tweets and those comments and they can be like, oh, but you made this comment saying the show that you want to work on is not good. Bye. And it was interesting, but not fully interesting, but I think my favorite one was the Cartoon Network storyboard, like the art of storyboarding, which had the creator of Summer Camp Island and a few other people from like the Amazing World of Gumball, talking about just how you make storyboarding, how you set up shots and scenes and jokes with dialogue. Did you get to see this one?
I didn't get to see that one, but some of the ones that I watched were, of course, I had to watch the Bugs Bunny 80th birthday extravaganza hosted
How was
by.
that?
This was fun. It was hosted by Yvette Nicole Brown, and she had Eric Bauza, Jeff Bergman, Billy West, Leonard Maltin, and Jerry Beck, all kind of going through Bugs's entire history, from his origins to each voice actor who went on to fill the shoes of Mel Blanc. They went over like some of their favorite cartoons, favorite memories of like portraying the character, and how they got into this gig. It was pretty interesting.
Well, I'm sure it's an amazing gig to obtain if you can. I'm sure that's not an easy thing. Like I'm sure you have like a wave of people saying, I can be the next Bugs Bunny. And Eric Bauza is really good. Like, he voices half the characters in the new Looney Tunes shorts. That's not an easy gig to get, and he's working overtime by doing so many of the voices.
Yeah, I think of all the voice actors who have played any of the Looney Tunes characters, Bauza is the closest to get to like the spirit of Mel Blanc.
Yeah, and I forgot that Billy West did some Looney Tune voices, but I shouldn't be shocked. He's a great voice actor.
Yeah, his most notable appearance is Space Jam, which everyone loves.
Oh.
Well, loves.
Yeah, nostalgia, y'all. It's one hell of a drug. But other than that, there really wasn't much else. And that's disappointing because I was kind of interested in hearing about the voice acting stuff and seeing the one that was hosted by Keith David and Alan Tudyk. But there just wasn't much. It was just kind of like a simple Q&A kind of thing without the live aspect of it.
Yeah, the voice acting panel was fun to some extent because it's just always fun to hear these actors kind of riff off various lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't quite have that same energy without the live element.
I mean, one of my favorite Comic-Con stories from one our videos that I loved seeing with the crowd and such was when they did a reading of Star Wars: A New Hope with Tara Strong, Billy West, John DiMaggio, and a few others. And boy, howdy, I think I almost made my stomach explode of how much I laughed as Tara Strong using the voice of Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls as Darth Vader. Or hearing John DiMaggio's Bender as Luke Skywalker. Oh gosh, you like I said, you need that live element with these kind of things, and the Crunchyroll one was pretty okay. It plays out like if you're a gamer, you know, like how Sony and Nintendo do those direct events where they show off like, hey, here's what's coming down the pipeline. Unfortunately, there just wasn't a whole lot with these. And even though the Crunchyroll one was pretty much the most polished out of them all, it was just talking about anime that already came out this year. I mean, for this summer 2020 season that they have. So if you aren't already watching The God of High School and Decadence and God, there's this bad anime that I'm just never mind. And then it was just like, hey, here's some other Crunchyroll stuff coming, but we're not going to show you it, but you can see it a month or so from now at the Crunchyroll Expo. So it was just like a marketing thing. And
ooh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, so it's like, unless you are already watching the summer's 2020 season, which I partially am. I'm not really interested in a lot of the shows that have come out. There just wasn't much there. And even the stuff like the HBO Max talking about adult animation, it was kind of fun to see like Gendy Tartakovsky, Seth Green, and a producer behind like the Boondocks and Black Dynamite talk. But again, Q&A. I mean, really, that's all I can say. It was just Q&A, 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 Q&A. What else? Did you see any others?
I saw the HBO Max adult animation panel. That was, again, that was okay, because they had some of the conversations between those creators was mostly stuff that I've kind of already knew, but just kind of hearing it from their mouths and like just kind of seeing their passion for the shows that they've created and the medium they work in it was nice. The other two that I saw were Leonard Maltin and Jerry Beck talking about the history of Saturday morning cartoons, which is something I'm always kind of interested in, especially when it's kind of more personal stories of like how they got into the medium and how Saturday morning kind of it defined like a lot of our favorite creators and commentators like careers. And then the other one I watched was, of course, HBO Max's Looney Tunes cartoons panel, where they did debut a new short, which is kind of fun because it's a kind of like Ghostbusters Poltergeist kind of riff with Daffy and Porky Pig.
Ooh, that's a good combo.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I wish I could have seen that one. The Solar Opposites panel had a sneak peek of the second season with an animatic, and it was cute. Not a whole lot else, but I don't know. I'm complacent about how to really rate Comic-Con at home, at least in the animation side of things, because what are you gonna do? COVID has ruined everything for everyone, and the big boys aren't there. What else are you going to talk about? The only other one I watched was the Cartoon Network panel, and it was more like a Nintendo Direct where it's like, hey, here's some cartoons, like a new Craig of the Creek episodes, and here are some clips of some other cartoons and the We Bare Bears movie, which is already out. And it's like, I don't want to be too hard on him, but there was something missing. And I think there could have been more, but I can understand if like some places, people like Funimation and Crunchyroll was like, we're going to save our resources for our own things.
I think another reason why Comic-Con at home was so disappointing was because that weekend they were also overshadowed by Justice Con, which was Zack Snyder's and the Snyder Cut people kind of having their own little convention. And I think even Adult Swim had a like their Adult Swim Con that same weekend. So it kind of took some of the viewers away from Comic-Con at home.
Yeah, and that's a shame because the Adult Swim stuff was actually pretty great. Like they announced some collaborations with Crunchyroll. Like they have a new anime series coming out next year called Faina Pirate Princess, and that looks great. It's being animated by or produced by Production IG, and they're a great studio.
Oh, nice. Is that the new one that's coming to Toonami?
Yeah.
Nice.
And they also have a new Blade Runner anime coming out, which looks pretty good also. But we'll have to see about that. And unfortunately, the one horror anime that everyone is looking forward to, the animated adaptation of Uzumaki, has been delayed to next year. And I don't know how familiar you are with Junji Ito and the notorious Uzumaki manga he made. But
I'm vaguely familiar.
But Junji Ito is just like the master of comic book horror or manga horror. And yeah, he deserves it. I've had a few nights where I've had trouble falling asleep because I decided to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning reading some of his stuff. So that's on me. But in general, Comic-Con at home was fine. I was kind of hoping we could make a fun Annecy recap kind of thing about it, but there just wasn't enough. And I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's disappointing we couldn't get quite enough material, but that's all right. At least we have a little bit to talk about. Plus, we have more room to talk about two new for us, but they've been out for at least a couple weeks, animated series. The first one is an original for NBC Universal's streaming service Peacock. This is Cleopatra in Space. And for those who don't know, Cleopatra in Space is a comedic adventure focusing on Cleopatra's teenage years as she deals with the ups and downs of being a high school teenager after she transported 30,000 years into the future to a planet with Egyptian themes ruled by talking cats, and she is said to be the savior of the galaxy. This is based on the graphic novels by Mike Maihack, and features not really an all-star cast, but the voice cast I think is pretty excellent. You have Lilimar Hernandez as the titular protagonist. You have Katie Crown voicing Aquila.
Yeah.
Jorge Diaz as Brian, a cyborg teenage boy, and Senthil Ramamurthy as Kenzu, one of the intelligent long-eared cats who serves as their
mentor.
Yeah,
and they have to stop the evil ruler known as Octavian, voiced by Jonathan Kite. And, all things considered, for a DreamWorks animated series on Peacock, I thought it was pretty solid stuff. It's definitely a very Saturday morning cartoon kind of premise. I was really happy when one of our friends, Colton, brought up, first Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, and now Cleopatra in space. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one who remembers Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. We like sending fictional people into space. Well, fictional and historical people into space and into the future.
Yeah, space, the future, or both.
Yeah. Pick your poison. So how about we start with just some overall thoughts? What did you think about the first 13 episodes?
Overall, I was pretty satisfied. It sucks that this came out the same year as Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, because as far as DreamWorks animation goes, that right now is kind of the bar. But this is still pretty solid stuff. Had I seen this when I was younger on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, I would consider this probably one of my favorite shows. But judging it now as an adult, I think it's solid. I think they have a really rock solid premise. Like I love the voice cast of this character of like the cast of these characters.
Yeah.
And I love how sharp the writing can be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a little too meta, where it's like, okay, we know what this is. Just
Just get on with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, like, as an animation critic, you have to know what you're getting into with shows like Cleopatra in Space. This was obviously a show made for a younger audience in mind, and that's what they said. It was their attempt to aim at a younger audience. So yeah, of course, I think Kipo is a much better show, but all things considered and what I've seen this year, like anime and US made, it's a fun little show. Like, yeah, I agree. I think it's a very well written show, which I'm glad that they didn't give up on that, because one of the biggest issues I have with the show is the animation. You can tell this was done in Flash. I mean, and that's not the shock here, but you can tell that the same attention to animation that they use for their other shows like Voltron, Kippo, and the recently ended She-Ra was not used here. And I don't know if that's because it was aimed at a younger audience, so I had like a slightly smaller budget or a different team, or because I can't.
I think that's it, because unlike those other shows, this was not done by Studio Mir.
Okay, that makes sense. Because the characters, because the frustrating part is that some of the animation in the show is actually quite good. It's a lot. Sometimes they get very expressive, and with Brian, aka the name of a cyborg that has just makes me laugh every time, because we had Scoob this year where you found out Blue Falcon's name is Brian. He's a lot of fun. Like, I like the writing with some of the characters, and I think my favorites were like Kensu and Brian. And even though we didn't get to see a lot of him, I thought Octavian was very amusing as a slightly comedic, threatening villain.
Yeah, he has the presence, like he has the character design of like a menacing villain, but then he talks and he has like a kind of silly personality, which is a little bit there's a little bit of dissonance there, but I think that kind of works.
Yeah, I think it works for the most part, but mostly because we don't see him a whole lot. The show is not, or at least the first 13 episodes are not really story driven. It's one of those shows where the first season is kind of just pretty episodic, week by week episode story structures and whatnot, until the second half. And I think I got one really good laugh out of Octavian when he was talking about the villain laugh trope, where he was just like having an evil laugh, and then one of his henchmen was evil laughing with him. And he's just like, the evil laugh is a single person thing. I thought that was cute. Like, really, I'm not going to be too hard on this show. Like I said, the biggest problem is that like the animation could have been better, probably should have been better with some of these designs, because the show can be really, like I said, expressive. But I think it's held down by the animation and by the fact that I think the characters so far aren't all that interesting. They kind of have very similar archetypes, but I think the writing helps elevate them a little.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they could, and I hope they get better, because apparently there's 2 seasons of this show. And originally this was shown in Southeast Asia before hitting Peacock, which is an interesting strategy. And like what would you say are some other positives of the show, just so it's not just as like saying it's not as good as Kipo?
One of my favorite running gags in like the first couple episodes is whenever Brian has trouble expressing his emotions, he'll make like the wrong face for like when expressing like whether he's happy, excited, or grumpy. He'll make like the complete opposite facial expression.
Yeah, no, that's very creative.
That or he's going off on like some tangent, like explaining like how a piece of technology works, but he's like he's like speaking in like all this jargon, and Akila's like smaller words.
Gosh, it brings up that joke comment people make saying the thesaurus was a mistake. I also like Kinsu as a mentor. Like he's a pretty typical like mentor character where he's serious but sometimes has his fun moments. I like that they kind of poke fun. It's like, you're not really a fun person. And he's like, oh, I'm fun. And it's like, and he pulls up something extremely monotonous and boring. And then he's just like, man, I'm not actually all that fun. And I think the Egyptian motif is very creative with the show. Like a lot of the visuals and the world takes advantage of like the Egyptian visual motifs, and it definitely gives the show like a flair of its own.
I was gonna bring that up next because my audience already knows how much I love the Prince of Egypt, and to see DreamWorks kind of diving back into that well, even for something as silly as this premise, it hits the mark for me.
Yeah, it's definitely not half-baked where it's like it's mostly sci-fi with an Egyptian thing here and there. They go all the way with it. And I think that's pretty neat. I like that. It shows that this team obviously had a vision in mind. I also like some of the other voice cast members that they get, like Carrie Walgreen, who you might know as the one of the leads from Fooly Cooly, and plenty of other things. She's everywhere. She's really good. She plays the quote unquote popular girl Callie, and definitely has a somewhat generic story arc as far as popular kid characters / bullies go. But I think Carrie brings a humanity to her, and
she does.
And then also, like, if you listen carefully, you can hear D. Bradley Baker pop up every now and then. And I think one of my favorites little guest star appearances was Lucas Grabeel from High School Musical as Zedge, this rock star character that you see in one of the later episodes. He's actually kind of a talented guy, and I kind of like that this one rock star character doesn't stop singing. Like, he'll just sing every sentence, and it's like, at first it's kind of cool, but then the characters are like, oh my gosh, this isn't just like a one-off thing. He does this every single time he talks. And yeah, I mean, like, all things considered, for a streaming service I haven't really been all that impressed by. Yeah, I think Cleopatra in Space is a pretty overall good series.
Before we wrap that up, there is one thing we need to talk about.
Oh, thank you for reminding me.
So
yeah, go ahead.
If you go on Peacock, you'll notice that it says there are 13 episodes available, except that's not actually true. There's an episode titled Quarantine that is missing.
Oh, Lord.
So the synopsis is, after a successful mission, Cleo spreads the flu to everyone on campus. It's not surprising why this episode was seemingly pulled from the show's US release, but I am kind of disappointed that Peacock subscribers don't get to see it, because it has probably one of the best voice guest stars in the series. It's Paul Rudd voicing the eccentric Dr. Queed.
Yeah, I instantly noticed Paul Rudd as that character because he brings that same manic energy that he brought to Freakazoid to this character. And you can technically watch this episode, but you have to go through other sites to do so. And it definitely is an episode that kind of hits too close to home. But of course, how are they going to know our year would be ruined by COVID?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's a bummer because Paul Rudd has one of the best one of the best sequences and just episodes in general. Like the episode itself is not all that interesting. It's kind of generic, but Paul Rudd elevates it and makes me miss him. I think he, alongside John DiMaggio, who plays one of those pacifist aliens, Gled.
Right. I remember. I remember really liking his episode.
Yeah, not to take away from Paul Rudd, but John DiMaggio is such a riot in that because he has kind of like a very stoned out, very laid back, probably 10 times more chill than Jake the dog from Adventure Time tone with Gled. And then he's just like, man, we used to be violent where we just want to crush the heads of our enemies and watch their bodies fly to the ground. And then he's like, calm down, Gled. That's the old you. But so unfortunately, like, Cleopatra's a series that's locked behind a paid membership for Peacock. And I think there's a little bit of an iffiness with the fact that you can't watch one episode of it. I get it, but it's also like, why should I pay for it if you're just going to lock content away? But any final thoughts?
If you are a paid subscriber and you want something to show your kids, I think Cleopatra in Space is a very solid recommendation.
Yeah, definitely like a good 7 out of 10 for me. But we'll have to see. There are other episodes, but DreamWorks has had this kind of weird release strategy where they will release like seasons, quote unquote, even though it's like they could easily just release it all at once, but they'll do what they do.
Yeah, and then they won't market it until like a week before.
Golly, the streaming services need better marketing. It's like I'm tired of like either the month of or the day of they finally get a trailer or something, and it's just word of mouth can only go so far when nobody knows about your show. So yeah, I definitely say check out Cleopatra in Space. I like I said, can't be too hard on it. It's aimed for a younger audience. It sets out to do that, and it succeeds. Definitely, like, give it a shot. But now we will talk about our final show for tonight, or for this episode. The HBO Max series by Myke Chilian, Tig N Seek. Would you like to start us off with this one?
Okay, so Tig N Seek. The series follows 8-year-old Tiggy and his gadget-building cat, Seek, as they search for the lost items of Ouija City. With Tiggy's cheerful attitude and Seek's exceptional inventing capabilities, the duo humorously navigate day-to-day dilemmas at the Department of Lost and Found. I think something that's kind of fascinating about the series is how very laid back it is. Almost like it's, and I can't really confirm this is just speculation. It kind of feels like a show that's taking the piss out of edutainment shows that Cameron and I grew up with.
Mm-hmm. Well, first off, just a little background, because I was watching this show throughout this whole week, and something about it was off to me. I wasn't really connecting with it, and I finished it up today, and I was just kind of like, well, that was a pretty good, interesting show. And then you, Mike, asked me about this, about if they're making fun of edutainment shows for like those like little kids and such, and then it puts the entire show's context on a whole nother level. And I know that sounds so snobbish and pretentious, but once you kind of think about it as a show that's just trolling the audience of edutainment shows, I think the show gets a little better about that.
Right?
And because as a whole, it's a very laid back show. A lot of the time, the show takes place in one location. You don't see, and it takes place in the Department of Lost and Found, which has a bipedal walking dog named Boss, voiced by Rich Fulcher, a mechanic, a superintendent, Neritza, a bunny with an eye patch and a sour attitude, voiced by Wanda Sykes, and the best character of the show, aka this guy, who is literally named this guy, a furry blue Bigfoot-like character in a suit and tie, voiced by one half of the Flight of the Conchords, Jermaine Clement.
Yeah, this guy is my favorite character because it is so Jermaine Clement. Like he does such a good job of being the sophisticated and orderly manager, I guess, of the department.
Yeah, his character's role is to basically keep everything sane, focused, and organized. And he has Jermaine Clement's iconic, very dry sense of talking, like Tiggy, don't do that, Tiggy. And his delivery is so good, and it reminds me why I love Jermaine Clement as an actor, because he's so versatile. He's done comedic stuff, he's done drama. He's one of those character actors that is a lot of fun to listen to and watch, because he's been in stuff like Legion and of course Flight of the Conchords, the TV series, which is just a great show. Now, for people wondering if this is going to be a Adventure Time, Steven Universe kind of show,
not even a little bit.
At least not now. It's like I said, it's definitely smaller in scale. Where, I mean, things do get kind of weird and shenanigans filled, but it's mostly Tiggy and Seek trying to find something and find it and bring it back to the owner. And how would you describe how the episodes go? How would you say is a typical Tig N Seek episode?
What's interesting is that the only formula I picked up on is it starts with Tiggy and Seek getting into some sort of trouble, and by the end things don't get better. They either stay the same or they get worse.
Yeah, that's about accurate. And I think my favorite episode was when I have two. One of them is when it's one day it's raining outside, and Tiggy makes a new toy for Seek, which is this cool ramshackled laser pointer. And at first it's just like Seek can't stop playing with it, and then he's just like, okay, I got to get rid of this. But then the laser pointer points outside, and it starts bringing all of these cats into the office until the whole place floods with cats. And one of my favorite little gags is is this guy, which now this show's going to ruin that whole phrase, because now I can't say this guy without thinking about this character. Where it's just like, there's a cat on your head. And it's like, no, there's not. Yes, there is. There are many cats in this room. 1 cat, 2 cat, 3 cat, and then all the characters start talking to one another, and in the background you can still hear this guy counting how many cats there are in the room. And I think overall, like, well, actually, the second episode that I really like is when uh Tiggy finds out that the whole like cats have 9 lives is just a metaphor. And you find out that this isn't the first time where Tiggy said, because apparently Tiggy thought 2 heads are better than 1 was a literal thing. Which I think that's just a hoot and a half of like how funny this writing can get.
Especially when you have Wanda Sykes saying that line.
Yeah, I actually like Wanda Sykes in this one, and I know she was in Harley Quinn as what was her character's name? The Queen of Fables.
Yep.
And it's kind of interesting to see her kind of popping up everywhere now, and like I think she's pretty funny, and I mean, like the show's weird. Like it's kind of surreal at points because like one of the only other people that Tiggy encounters that's not part of the lost and found department is a penguin with a strawberry hat.
Oh, Pringle.
Yeah, Pringle. And I think Pringle is a bit of a representation of everyone, just kind of dealing with the day-to-day chaos of life. But anyway, it's just like so Tiggy finds out that Seek only has 1 life, and then does everything he can to make sure the office is safe and protected by shoving literally everything into to the boss's office. And then throughout the episode, they're like, "Man, I'm so glad we have this empty office. I don't even know who it belongs to. Must belong to some ghosts or something." And then you find out that the boss has just been sitting in there the whole episode, just with all that stuff in there, just piling up. And then at the very end, he's just like, "Tiggy, you're fired."
See, that's what I'm talking about with every episode ending with either no resolution or things go from bad to worse.
And I just want to say, I love this little detail about Boss, and not just because he's like a dog wearing a tie. I like the ear thing about him. Like one of his ears is like flopped over his head. It's like a middle-aged man with trying to comb over his hair, like his bald spot.
Yeah, that is kind of a cool detail.
Yeah, and I just thought that was like a cool little touch. And I kind of like how everyone is on the same wavelength, but they're all kind of like they deal with everything their own way. And I think the boss has some of my favorite lines. Like there's an episode where Tiggy and Wanda Sykes' character are supposedly found a treasure map, and they're digging in his office. And then he's like, they pause when he walks in, and he's just like, "You trying to leave me out of the treasure?" And joins in on them. And of course, they find out that it wasn't a treasure chest; it was a sewage pipe, which just covers the whole room in green sludge. And then you find out that it wasn't a treasure map; it was a blueprint, and it was from this guy. And he was just like, "That X right there with the shovel is a reminder to me to do not dig there." And no, it's a very weird show. I don't think I quite get its rhythm yet, its spirit, but I think it's definitely a fairly offbeat show for HBO Max, and it's something a little different than what we're getting.
Yeah, this is very off color. Even for modern day Cartoon Network, it's a very hard show to categorize, but I would probably still recommend it if you're already into some of the weirder shows that Myke Chilian has been involved in.
Yeah,
and you're curious to see like how he handles his own series, then yeah, give this a try.
Yeah, like I think it's definitely like it's obviously made for kids and families, but it has just enough of an offbeat like persona to it to where adults might dig it. Though I will say one of the few downsides of the show is that Tiggy is kind of a really annoying protagonist. Or at least to me, it took a little bit to get used to him. Because I get it, he's a kid trying to act like an adult, but the child side kind of takes over too much.
Yeah. It takes a while for you to kind of get used to Tiggy, because he's written as a child, but still kind of voiced like an adult. So
but he's voiced by the creator of the show, so
yeah, he's a hard character to root for, but I guess like if you give him like a handful of episodes, you'll start to warm up to him.
yeah. And like I said, it's a hard show to really pinpoint on how like overall good it is, and maybe it's just because like this whole episode was kind of like put together at the last minute. Well, not really the last minute per se, but like when we found out that there wasn't a whole lot of Comic-Con stuff, we were going to talk about Tig and Seek and Cleopatra in Space and Central Park at a later date. But since there wasn't enough Comic-Con stuff, we brought up Tig and Seek and Cleopatra in Space. And we're going to talk about Central Park when the new voice actress for the daughter character redubs over Christian Bale's lines. But yeah, I think if you need a new show to watch on HBO Max, and yeah, I'd recommend it. Get some kind of offbeat child family entertainment. I could recommend. Let's just say this: Cartoon Network has had worse surreal offbeat family entertainment. I can think of a few shows like Uncle Grandpa and to some extent some other shows that they had in their past where they were like, I don't think they fully worked, at least for them. And but yeah, I think give it a shot.
Yeah, it's a soft recommendation, but a recommendation nonetheless. Now, Cameron, you had some other recommendations on the anime side of things.
Yes. So since the summer 2020 anime season is full of pretty meh to mediocre with very few good shows, last week or the last episode, I recommended Decadence and The God of High School. So I was trying to look for something that was offbeat and kind of plays with the tropes of a certain genre differently. And I went back to the spring 2020 anime lineup and decided to start watching a show called Princess Connect Redive. It's based off of a mobile game, and I have to say, if you're into like if you are aware of shows like Konosuba, where it's a comedic fantasy adventure, Princess Connect Redive is basically that kind of show. And funny enough, if you watch it and you think, man, this plays out kind of like a more laid back and charming Konosuba. Well, the both anime are directed by Takaomi Kanasaki, which I think that's pretty fun. When you can tell, like, I'm still trying to get into like seeing directors for their work, like identifying them by their work, and you can tell this is made by the Konosuba guy, or directed by the same Konosuba director. And it's definitely like one of those anime where there's a male lead and all of his allies are cute anime girls. But one of the first things that happens is when he's brought back into the world of wherever the game takes place, this elf character Kokoro walks up to him while he's laying in the grass, and you think it's going to be like a very traditional like anime introduction to the main male lead. Oh no, he's getting eaten by wolves with these big googly eyes designs on him. They notice her, she notices them. There's an awkward silence, and then the two wolves just drag the male character away while she chases after them. And this happens not once, not twice, but 3 different times. And oh my gosh, this show is such a delight. It's funny, it's charming, and even though it's one of those kind of moe, cute girl anime kind of shows, its writing, its animation are all top notch. These are delightful characters, and it's one of those things that almost falls into that trap of like, here's some cute anime girl fan service, and it dials it back. It's not really like the characters are cute and they are quote unquote hot by anime girl standards, but they put the personality first and the chemistry between the characters first. And like there's this one episode where they have to take the male character to a supposed hospital because he's not feeling great. Well, they find out what's wrong with him, and the doctor is like, we must operate on him. And they're panicking because it's like, oh my gosh, they're going to operate on him. Is he going to be okay? And they're like, don't worry. We're going to make him 30% better.
Only 30%?
Yeah. But then it's like they worry and they wait outside. The elf girl, Kokoro, does like a little magical chant and prayer to make sure he's okay. And they run into a character you meet in a previous episode. And he's like, what the heck are you guys doing here? And they're like, it's a hospital. Our friend is sick. No, this is a prison. Like a little, like, and not like, oh, it like figurative. It's a literal prison. And the doctor's a mad scientist. And so they're experimenting on the poor lead, the male lead. And, like this show is constantly funny, and a lot of it's also because of this princess character, Pecorine, who is maybe a bit too stupid for her own good, but she's also super strong. She's super kind, and she can probably out-eat any Shonen Jump anime character. So she could probably beat Luffy, Naruto, and Kaiman in an eating contest. Because
what about Goku?
Oh yeah, Goku would just not be able to survive. And like I said, the animation is in this thing is top notch, and you think it's like, oh well, of course this got a slightly better budget and team because it's cute anime girls and whatnot. And yes, that's true, but it's very smooth. It's expressive. The designs are kept simple, so there's better animation, and the facial reactions are amazing. Like during the big chorus number of the anime opening, you see the characters sliding down a hill of sand to go after this giant lizard. And you see the male character just kind of tumbling down, like tumbling down a hill, and then gets eaten by the lizard, and everybody freaks out, and their facial expressions are great. And oh my gosh, I can't stop praising this show. I'm only halfway through it, and even though I don't usually like recommending things when I'm like halfway through them, because who knows how the second half is, I can already tell this is going to be great. And if you like your fantasy and comedy, this is a show I highly recommend. You can watch it on Crunchyroll, or you can probably watch it through Crunchyroll through Verve. And let me quickly see if it's on. It's not on HBO Max, but I mean, we'll see what happens there. They should probably just put Crunchyroll on HBO Max, like full tilt, nonstop.
I agree with that. As someone who doesn't have a Crunchyroll account.
But yeah, like if you like Konosuba, and I'm going to check out that series too, and I think we definitely should make an episode talking about the two, because I think they complement each other pretty well. I highly recommend it. It's such a sweet series. Also, like I said, I love the characters, and even though it's a lot about cute anime girls, hey, if they were this likable and fun to be around, why not? You know? But that's really all I have for recommendations. I couldn't really find a movie to connect with Tig and Seek and Cleopatra in Space. Do you have any recommendations?
The only one I have is, which is one that we've kind of talked ad nauseum about already, but for those who haven't seen it yet, Harley Quinn is now available on HBO Max. Both the first and second season are on there. So if you haven't seen Harley Quinn yet and you want to watch one of DC's, honestly, one of their best animated series in a while, now is the time to get on that train. And as a little preview for what's coming down the pipeline, we have an episode planned for Infinity Train when book 3 comes out August 14th. And at the end of the month, we will cover the Tales of Arcadia trilogy from DreamWorks Animation.
Yeah, and in between then, that we'll also be talking about we'll be setting up an episode that's going to be talking about Agretsuko, since the 3rd season's coming out near the end of the month, and we will also be talking about Glitch Check and the new anime series on Netflix coming out this month, The Great Pretender. And we'll have to talk about it, but Netflix is kind of throwing a new animated film under the radar. That's called, I think Limitless or something. I forgot what it was called. And I'll have to check it out and see if it's worth talking about. But yeah, we definitely have some episodes planned. So
yeah, so
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We have quite the slate coming for the future.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap things up here, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Cam's Eye View. I also have a website called camseyeview.biz where I talk about animation, called The Other Side of Animation, where I talk about like everything that's not Disney and Pixar. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview if you like my work and like to support it. And you can find me in the Renegade Pop Culture Facebook group. I'll be making like little episode updates from time to time. And that's where you can find me.
All right. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at CaptainK42. Check out my quick thought reviews on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And look for me in all the various Facebook groups at just my name, Michael Kaye. Don't forget to check us out on Anchor and Spotify. Check out our Facebook group, Renegade Pop Culture. Follow us on Twitter at RenPopCulture. And last but not least, check out our website, renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Tooned Up. We will catch you guys later. Peace.
Bye.